Computer cash out. Back in 2015, a woman from San Francisco was cleaning out her garage when she stumbled across a computer that her family hadn't used in decades. Without thinking, she dropped it off at her local recycling station and drove away, never to be seen again. But when the staff there saw it, they couldn't believe their eyes. This wasn't any old computer, it was an Apple I, the very first computer created by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, the founders of Apple. Just 200 of them were made back in 1976, and because of Apple's trillion-dollar success since then, these computers that launched the business are now incredibly valuable. How valuable? Well, at auction, this old lady's model fetched a whopping $200,000. Just a year before, in 2014 though, another Apple I was discovered, gathering dust in someone's basement for almost 40 years. It was expected to sell for a huge $300,000 at auction, but actually went for more than 3 times that at $905,000. And since then, another one has entered the market, looking for a supermassive bid of $1.5 million. So kids, make sure you help your grandparents clear up their houses when you can. Otherwise, they might be yeeting your inheritance into the trash without knowing it. Limited Lego. There isn't a kid alive who hasn't played with Lego. The brilliant bricks and iconic yellow figurines let you build anything you can think of. But even though a lot of it looks the same, not all Lego is made equal. By partnering with big franchises like Marvel, Lego has produced some small-scale superheroes for fans to collect, like the limited edition Comic-Con 2013 series. This was a year after Marvel's Avengers was released, and so with Marvel fever at a high, these sought-after figurines could only be won in a raffle. Now, if you're a novice like me, you might be thinking that a dinky Lego prize like this is just a nice little memento. Maybe you tucked it away in a toy box somewhere or gave it away to Goodwill. I mean, it's only Lego, right? Wrong. Some of these Lego figures, like Spider-Man and Spider-Woman, were so rare that they had avid collectors bidding more than $350 for them on eBay at the time. And since then, as Marvel's grown in popularity, they've only increased in value. Spider-Woman is now listed on auctions at around $5,800, and Spider-Man's listed at more than $16,000. Now that's what you call a pay gap. Pricey Pokemon cards. Back in June 2021, YouTube superstar and professional idiot Logan Paul stepped into the ring against actual boxer Floyd Mayweather, wearing, of all things, a Pokemon card. But this wasn't any old Pokemon card, this was a first edition Charizard, which Logan claimed was worth a whopping $1 million. Hold on. Back up. A single Pokemon card, like the ones I used to fling around when I was a kid, is worth $1 million? That's insane, right? Well, not completely. For those who don't know, the Pokemon trading card game was released in Japan back in 1996, spreading internationally in 1998. Back then, a pack of random Pokemon cards cost about $4, with kids spending hundreds of dollars to try and collect the full 102 base card set. But it soon became a worldwide sensation, fueled by the popularity of its promotional anime and video games, with more cards in later editions being released. Today, it tops the list of highest-grossing media franchises with an estimated $105 billion in sales. Their sustained popularity and presence in pop culture has collectors, nostalgia nerds, and celebrities paying top dollar for rare cards from that original base set. One of these is the 1999 holographic shadowless first edition Charizard, much like Logan's. These authentic first edition mint condition Charizard cards can be worth up to a phenomenal $500,000. Why? Because only around 55 of these cards are known to exist. So what made Logan's worth $1 million? It's likely all those diamonds he had encrusted onto the card's case that added to its value, because he bought the card for just $150,000. But Charizards aren't the only cards worth something. Other first edition base set cards with iconic Pokemon like Blastoise and Venusaur are worth several thousand apiece. So ask your mom if she stashed any of your old Pokemon cards up in the attic, because a few of them might be able to pay off her mortgage today. Are you over there fuming about having some of these things back in the day, realizing you've missed out on making thousands of dollars? Why not take some of that frustration out on those like and subscribe buttons down below? Isn't the only card game trading in some serious money. Released in 1993, the tabletop card game Magic the Gathering was the very first trading card game of its kind. The fantasy-styled cards appealed to the young nerd underworld, and avid players, like me, had no problem spending all their allowance on booster packs. Even though it hasn't been as successful as Pokemon, in 2020 alone it grossed $581 million. And just like Pokemon, cards from the first 1993 edition, known as the Alpha set, are big deals to players and collectors alike. How big? Well, in April 2021, an authenticated sealed starter set of Alpha cards sold for a staggering $84,000. However, the rarest and arguably most powerful card in the entire game is the Black Lotus. It's especially prized in-game as it costs nothing to play and can be used to enable other high-power cards very quickly. As good as it is, it's still surprising to learn that in January, a mint-condition card signed by the original illustrator Chris Rush was sold for a staggering $511,000. It's believed only 5,000 Black Lotuses are currently in circulation, and just a few of them are in mint condition. However, other cards from the Alpha and Second Beta set still fetch a few hundred or even thousands of dollars. Who knew being a massive nerd in the 90s would finally pay off? Consoles and cartridges. 90s kids will remember their old consoles fondly, like Sega Mega Drives and Nintendo GameCubes. But these were not the first of their kind. That title belongs to the lesser-known consoles from the 1980s, like the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Now, you might be thinking, this is just a glorified keyboard, but almost 40 years ago, this was the peak of gaming tech, defined by games such as Horoscope Skiing and Night Lore. And today, in mint condition, they're worth a pretty penny. Super pristine specimens of the Spectrum can sell for upwards of $900, with some sealed game cassettes listed for upwards of $130. The Commodore 64 was another computer 80s kids will remember well, being the highest-selling single computer model of all time. There were hundreds of games for this console, like Castlevania, Ultima 1, and the Great Gianna Sisters, which 80s kids bought by the millions. Being a launchpad for the gaming industry, collectors are willing to pay upwards of $450 for the console in good condition, with games like Castlevania, which has gone on to inspire a full franchise of its own, worth around $300, even if the original was, in my humble opinion, absolutely terrible. At the very end of the 80s, the development of handheld consoles saw the release of Nintendo's Game Boy in 1989. I spent weeks, if not months, addicted to mine, playing everything from Super Mario World to the very first Pokemon games. What a time to be alive. Back when it was first released, a Game Boy cost $89.99, so about $200 today. However, its preserving popularity and prevalence in pop culture means they're worth so much more than that if they're in mint condition now. In June 2021, an original Game Boy, sealed and still in its box, was listed on eBay for almost 100,000 euros. That's over $116,000. And it's not just the Game Boys that fetch a fancy price, but their cartridges as well.